Hey everyone! Welcome to week 5 of the Procrastination No More Cookbook Authors Training. I'm Caroline with Create My Cookbook, and I'm here today again with Sean and Jen.
Hello.
Hi! So this week, Sean is going to be talking to us about photography for your cookbook.
Absolutely. So you are working on a cookbook with your Aunt Carlene's recipes, and have you thought about photography?
Yes, in fact, I've collected a lot of images from her already, and so I've got a bunch of old pictures, and so I think though I'm going to have to, actually make each recipe and take pictures of the actual food as well. So that's a missing piece right at this point.
Okay. Well, let me talk to you about different ways to approach it. I'll talk to you about some tips you should know about your photography as you approach it, and then we'll talk about whether you should do it yourself or hire a pro, and then we'll talk a little bit about a lookbook, and that'll kind of help you really gather together your ideas for your photography in your book. All right, so let's start with what works, what's boring, and what's trending. Will that be helpful?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. All right, so let's start with some things that work in photography that you should strive for. Okay, so the number one thing is you want to make sure all the food is immediately recognizable. So here's this bowl of ramen, and it's got a lot of elements, but you can tell what everything is, and that's what you want. You want, as soon as you look at it, people know exactly what it is. If people have to go, what is that? Then you're headed the wrong direction, okay? So it's good to also have a second pair of eyes around. But you can see the egg, the radish, the carrots, the little mushrooms. You can see everything in this photo. So that's a good food photo. Let's take a look at another thing that works. You want to make sure the photo accurately portrays your recipes. So here are some plates of spaghetti. And one thing that can happen often is if your food doesn't, like if you accidentally leave an ingredient out. So what if this recipe actually had red chili flakes in there and you don't see any red chili flakes in those plates of noodles? So you want to make sure you include everything. It's easier, like if you decide, when you're in photography, hey, I want to add, a sprig of parsley on here. You can always go back and edit the recipe. But if you leave something out, that's harder to fix. The other thing is that if you're doing healthy recipes, then you want to make sure that the portion size is right. So you kind of saw those 3 plates of spaghetti, and some had more and some had less. If you're doing a healthy cookbook, especially for dietitians, and the portion size is important, you want to make sure the portion size is right on the plate. Otherwise, you're kind of making people, like, ooh, I can have this big plate of spaghetti. Not really, wah-wah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's look at this one. This is like what works is you want to make sure the food looks good. You want to make sure nothing looks gross or lewd or suggestive. So this hot dog, somebody's already taken a bite out of it, and a hot dog is kind of like a personal thing, so that kind of really turns people off. Some people are really turned off by like a spoon that's kind of half licked. Some people like it, some people don't. So if you want to err on the side of making everybody happy, don't do the dirty spoon. And then here the bread is kind of torn, so you want to get good looking bread. Like I really love to go to a really good bakery and get like the best stuff, so the bread really pops. So you want to make sure everything looks good and appetizing. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. White plates are great for showing the food off. You really want to show the food off and make the food the star. But you don't have to use plain white plates for everything. So I like this photo. It's from Atlanta Magazine, and it has some plates that are different, which is really great. They still make the food stand out, but you've got a couple of different designs there, so it's not a boring photo. So definitely shake it up. Okay, let's go to the next one. Here's another example of just getting away from the white plate. So you saw a couple of slides back, some pasta on some white plates, but look at how this dark bowl really makes that pasta pop. Like your eyes just go straight to those noodles, right? So again, here's another way you can shake it up. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. You can use different angles. Like you see a lot of top-down overhead photography, but look at this angle. You're getting like some scene, so it looks like they're at like a breakfast diner or something. And that waffle, like you just want to like reach in and pull that waffle out. Like it's so cute, right? You just want to eat it. So that's a great, shake it up with some different angles. And then some of the things that are trending. One is that photos that tell a story. And you definitely have that going on for you, right? So like this is a photo. This is actually a really old photo that I pulled from the Library of Congress. And you can definitely see there's something going on. There's some kind of social event. So definitely include photos that tell a story.
Yeah.
Okay. And then another trend is illustrated photos. And this kind of got started with, you'd see people writing on photos, like, it'd be like, pasta, tomato, and they're kind of doing, and then the chalk thing came in. And now this is kind of like a new trend where there's actually illustrations around the food. And it's really kind of a fun, fresh thing to do. I don't think it's overdone yet. So, if you have that leeway to do that in your food photography, definitely have fun with it. Okay, let's take a look at one more thing. The pretty mess. This might contradict the hot dog photo, but let me explain why it doesn't. Because food isn't perfect, right? Every time you cook a pie or a cobbler, what happens?
I mean, it's a little different.
It's a little different. The juices bubble or whatever. So you kind of wanted to make it look like, this is real life food, So it's totally natural if you're making a cobbler like this, for the juices to bubble onto the pan. And this is a serving dish. So it's not like someone's taking a personal bite out of your food. There's the serving spoon and there's an individual plate there showing the serving. So it's a pretty mess. So you can totally do that. So what do you think so far?
I'm getting ideas.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the ultimate test for any food photo is, does the photo make you want to eat it?
Yeah.
If the photo makes you want to eat it, like you don't need like an art degree or a photography degree, right? If it makes you want to eat it, you're in the winning zone. Okay. So just kind of run all your photos by that test. Okay. Let's take a look at whether you should do your own photography or whether you should hire a pro.
Okay.
Okay. Let's take a look. So should you do your own food photography? It's a great way to save money, but you don't want to sacrifice the quality of your photos. So you should do your own photography. Of course, if you're experienced with professional photography, especially food photography, you've been doing that for a while, please go for it. If you have a designer to work with, you should do your own. You can do your own cookbook photography, because that designer just has like a good eye for how things come together, how it's going to look on the page. So that's a really strong ally to have. If you're a food blogger with a stunning Instagram account, you can do your own cookbook photography. Just keep in mind that book photography is different than Instagram. Instagram is a smaller platform than a book. So, and Instagram is kind of intense. So with a book, you can kind of be more laid back. You've got like hundreds of photos together. So it's just a different approach. And the fourth thing is, if you are experienced as a photographer and you can hire a food stylist to work with you, then you should do your own cookbook photography. A couple of more things. If you have access to a place to shoot, now that doesn't mean you have to have a studio. If you have a good, well-lit kitchen, then you can shoot your own food photography. Another way you can do it is if you understand that cooking to eat and cooking for photography are different. Even professional chefs have a hard time with this because they're used to like plating recipes for their guests and, chopping herbs really fine. Well, in photography, you want to see the whole herb so you know what it is, and there's some other ways that cooking to eat and cooking for photography are different. And that's really important. The next thing is if you have solid photo editing skills, like if you know how to pick, a good photo when you see it, then, you can think about doing your own photography. And then last, if the photography is part of a narrative of your book in a way that somebody else can't capture, like you don't want somebody else telling your story, or it's really hard to give your story over to somebody else, then you should do your own cookbook photography. All right, this is when you should leave it to the pros. Sometimes, you just want to hire people who are really good at what they do, give them what they need and let them go do their thing. That's totally awesome. And you're in good hands. If you are not experienced as a photographer, definitely look for a professional to hire. Or if you don't have time to learn how to do it yourself, like you can totally go take some photo courses. A lot of cities have Votech schools or just photography schools. If you don't have the time to go take some classes and develop your skills, hire a professional. They're great at it. They know what they're doing. And if you tell them your vision, they can help you get your whole book together. So what do you think?
It sounds good. I think I'm going to give it a try.
You think you're going to give it a try?
I think I'm going to give it a try.
That's great. I'm going to tell you about one more tool to help you kind of think about your photography. And this will work whether you're doing it yourself or whether you're hiring people to help you. I recommend putting together a mini lookbook. And what you want to do is just go on the internet or look at other cookbooks and just pull together some inspiration. But you want to be strategic about it. You want to think about, what do you want your cookbook to look like, and what's going to fit all of those, all of the story that we pulled together. Remember early on in weeks 1 and 2, we talked about, pulling together, thinking about what your customers want, what the story is. Now you really want to think about, how do photos help support the story you're trying to tell and the way that people are going to use your book. So I want you to go find some inspiration, and with all those things in mind, and then take a look at different things. So here's a mini lookbook I did for a cakes book. And I looked at the food styling, so you can kind of see there, I wanted like whole cakes on plates and different angles. You can think about the prop styling, like what, you can see some pretty cake plates, and what did I want the lighting to be? It could be moody, it could be bright, it could be natural light, it could be studio light, other types of photography. Let's take a look at the next slide. You can see, like at the top, I found some pretty cake plates for props. So that's an example of how you pull together props for your lookbook. And then the lighting example at the bottom. You can see I really kind of wanted bright, just kind of like some soft daylight, So think about the lighting. And then, you do want to think about other types of photography, like if you're going to have any technique shots, like Aunt Carlene's going to show you how to, knead bread or, beat a cake and, whatever. Or any lifestyle shots, like, if you've got, historic photos, or you've got like pictures of Aunt Carlene's house or her garden or, whatever. All of the family shots for today, you want to think about, how do you want those to look, what's the lighting and mood going to be, and then any interior ideas like your chapter openers, what do you want those to look like, and then what you might want any features to look like if you have little stories, what you want those like I think we talked about that last week. Yeah. So, all right. So
is this
that's
something that I could kind of put together like a Pinterest board?
Absolutely. Like you can do it. I usually do it in Word, but that's my business, so I'm sharing it with other people. You could do it on a shared drive. You could do it in Pinterest. There's some other apps out there that help you pull together vision boards, or you can do like a physical vision board. So whatever format works for you and the people who are helping you, do that. Just go with what feels natural to you. Definitely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, that's great, Sean. I feel like that gave us all a lot to think about. So your homework for this week, Jen, and everybody else, is going to be just think about your photography, whether you want to do it or you're going to need some help with it, and pull together that mini lookbook.
Great.
Thanks.
Great.
All.